What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live. Are we lagging a little bit right off the bat? Might have had a little lag off the bat. Hopefully that's not going to be an issue. But welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live. We're going to be talking about mock offseason signings. Our free agency started today for our mock offseason, and you already have some interesting rumors that we're going to drop on you for that. We're also going to start with the finals game as well. Hope everybody's days are going well. Hopefully you enjoyed your Thursday. The Suns win the finals today. They go up 2-0. We got Valley Podcast.
They won a game in the finals.
Yeah, they won a game in the finals. We got Valley Pod in here. I don't know if their stream's done, but congratulations, guys. You guys are up 2-0 in this series. Eric, how's your day going, man?
Oh, not too bad. Was hoping for a little bit, more competitive series and have it be 1-1, but I'm sure the Suns guys will take it.
Yeah. I mean, I want the series to go long. I was rooting for Milwaukee in this one. I gotta be honest with you guys. I just want a long competitive series. That's the most fun as an outsider looking in. If it was my Blazers, of course, I'd want them to win 4-0 and not have to stress about it. Those guys haven't really had to stress about much this entire playoff run, it seems like. So, I'm sure they're enjoying it. Did you catch that game today, Eric? Did you catch Game 2 of the finals?
Yeah, I watched most of it.
What was your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think the Suns are, with Giannis not 100% and the Bucks not giving him much help, I feel like the Suns should win this series. Might be a different situation going back to Milwaukee because it was a pretty hostile crowd in Phoenix towards the Bucks, and I think they got in Giannis's head a little bit. It'll be interesting because how nice would it be to have your team be up 2-0 in the finals right now? But as Blazer fans, we know our one title came being down 2-0 in the finals, so anything can happen still. But like I said, I'm just a little disappointed that the Bucks with Giannis both games couldn't at least get one of them.
Yeah, and Giannis had a huge third quarter. He's been pretty good this series. Thankfully, it wasn't a significant injury. It looked pretty significant when it happened. He stepped up. Meanwhile, you have Drew Holiday kind of letting him down. Drew Holiday is doing his best Eric Bledsoe impersonation right now, not really helping him out. They didn't necessarily have a terrible defensive game today, the Bucks, but they couldn't keep up offensively with the Suns. They did give up 118 points, but outside of Giannis, Giannis didn't really get much help. He had 42 points tonight. On a 15 for 22 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3, so he was 14 for 17 inside the arc, got to the line 18 times, made 11 of them. But outside of that, Drew Holiday 7 for 21, Chris Middleton is 5 for 16, Brook Lopez is only 4 for 10, Pat Connaughton maybe had the second best offensive game for them in 34 minutes. He was 4 for 9 from 3, 5 for 10 from the field. They just did not have enough offensive talent step up tonight for them. Giannis tried his best to carry Milwaukee, but outside of him, you didn't have enough scoring. Meanwhile, on the Suns side of things, you have Mikal Bridges, an ancillary piece there for the Suns. He has 27 points on 8 for 15 shooting. Gabe Von Carter said that he had been bad all postseason long. He traded him for Keldon Johnson in our mock offseason. Mikal Bridges might be making him regret that trade. He had 27, a career high, at least in the postseason is what I heard for Bridges. And then you have, solid, efficient shooting nights from Crowder. He's 4 for 8. Ayton's 4 for 10. Booker leads the way with 31 points. He's been great in his first NBA Finals and in his first NBA playoffs run. That's kind of the box score breakdown. So Giannis needs more help, man. That's plain and simple.
Almost felt like Giannis should have just shot every time with how good he was shooting. Like, just drive in every time and shoot it. Like, if your field goal percentage dips a little bit, at least you went out with your best, effort, Not that he didn't give his best effort, but, I don't know. I feel like at times he just goes away from being unstoppable when he could just drive to the hoop and do his little spin move and at least get to the free throw line. but I don't. It's not anywhere near as bad as Ben Simmons, but I feel like he gets kind of scared to go to the free throw line at times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that counting up chant would be a little bit distracting, man. It's better than just screaming and white noise, you know? So I think Brooklyn started that, and it's carried on into the finals with the Suns. But that's the thing with Giannis, though, man. It's like, if he could just knock down his free throws at an efficient enough clip, 11 for 18, you look at that, and it's like, oh, he had a decent free throw shooting night for his standards. For most superstar standards, that's a bad free throw shooting night. That's kind of the problem, is like he can drive in the lane, and when he doesn't get fouled, he at times is almost automatic and unstoppable, but if you foul him, you send him to the line, he's not the best free throw shooter. So kind of wish he was just a guy that knocked down his free throws consistently, because then he would truly be unstoppable driving to the rim. What are you going to do? Foul him if he makes his free throws? It's not going to be something that works. If you don't foul him and he's able to get to the rim, he's going to be able to have an efficient night attacking the rim. He did that tonight, made a decent amount of free throws. It's just kind of a situation where I wonder if he shies away if he's not confident going to the line, and he kind of avoids that.
Yep.
So, Game 3 will be on Sunday, tipping off 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be a must-win for Milwaukee. If Phoenix wins that game, I mean, they win the championship, right? No team has ever come back from a 3-0 hole. I mean, if that indeed happens and it's a 3-0 deficit from Milwaukee, what better time than to be the first team to come back from that sort of deficit in the NBA Finals? But I don't think they have the firepower to outscore Phoenix 4 games in a row. They have to get Game 3. Game 3 is a must-win for them at home. I'm not rooting for the Bucks to win this series, but I would hate for Phoenix to win Game 3, to be honest, because I want this to be a competitive series, man.
I agree. Once again, our Suns fans will not want that to happen, but I just want to see some more basketball. I'm not ready for this to be over in a sweep or in 5 games or whatever. Like, I want it to go 6 or 7, have some drama. This season has been great in terms of drama and good basketball all around outside of injuries to some of the stars. But just the fact that this year you have teams like the Bucks and the Suns in the finals, I feel like it'd be such a dud to have that happen and then to end in just a dominating performance by the Suns.
Yep, I agree with that. So, you ready to move on to our mock off season?
Sir.
All right.
Unless you want to mention Blazers assistant stuff first.
I don't even want to talk about that, man. I don't even want to go there. We'll wait and see, and we'll talk about their assistants once they actually sign them. But right now, it could be none of those 3 guys, and it's just not a big enough deal to me to really speak on it just yet. I feel like it would just turn into a conversation where we're like, Scott Brooks sucks. Is he worse as an assistant than Terry Stotts was as a head coach? That's kind of been a Twitter thing going on. I would just, rather move on to the fun stuff, because the fun stuff is going to be our mock off season.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about it. It's up to you.
Oh, it's all good. I think it's being way overblown anyway.
Yeah. Yep. So, free agency started today at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our mock off season. Eric is handling free agent decisions, except for any free agents that he's trying to sign, then I will handle them. And if we're both trying to sign the same guy, which is extremely unlikely, then we'll find a third party to handle free agent decisions that way. Eric is the Detroit Pistons in rebuild mode, and I think you have 14 guys under contract, if I recall correctly. I'm not quite sure.
I think I might only have 12.
12. Still, you got a lot of guys under contract. Me and you are going to be going for the same free agents. If you haven't been up to date with our mock-off season, I am the Portland Trailblazers. I traded CJ McCollum for Pascal Siakam. That's my one big move. I also added Paul Watson for basically nothing off the bench, but I am trying to make some splashes in free agency. I'm not going to reveal that plan yet. So, Eric, where do you want to go with this?
I'll start with the first rumor to correct something you just said. Mm-hmm. I actually was interested in a particular free agent for the Blazers and was prepared to give him an offer that I don't know if you would have been willing to match. But someone offered that particular player an offer that I can't match either. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
I mean, I assume you're talking about Norm. I assume
No.
somebody's gonna.
Not Norm. Well, Norm's getting a lot of interest too.
Oh, then I assume you're talking about Zach Collins. And if somebody wants to pay him $10 million a year when he can't even stay healthy, they can go right ahead. So yeah,
it's not quite that much, but it was a considerable offer, more than the minimum. So yeah.
Yeah, we will see how that plays out. He's kind of, I don't know, my plans are bigger and better than Zach Collins, and a guy who basically hasn't been able to stay healthy for 2 years. I'm not going to shell out a ton of money to, and I don't think the Blazers should. In reality, I feel like he won't get a big offer whatsoever. I feel like we can bring him back for pretty cheap, but if somebody wants to pay him a ton this offseason, Blazers and Blazer fans have to be ready to kind of just part ways with him, and I know a lot of them are.
Yeah, and one of the so just full disclosure, I was gonna offer him. I don't know if I was gonna give him my full room exception, but I was just gonna try to steal him, and I can afford to like not care if he's injured, but like take a risk on the upside. But yeah, someone came with an offer more than I could offer as the room exception. So, I'm kind of out of the running already before I even got my offer in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I assume Blazer fans don't want to pay him much more than like $5 million a year. So, I mean, if he could stay healthy, it'd be a completely different conversation. I didn't give him the qualifying offer. I let him become an unrestricted free agent because given his injury issues and the fact that he just got re-injured with the same injury for the third time now, it just has me worried, and I don't want to pay him the qualifying offer next year. I want to try and get him for cheaper than that, so that's why I didn't extend the qualifying offer. If somebody offers him something in that range, then good for them, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
So, I mean...
Sticking with your team, Norm has gotten a couple offers. So far, nothing concrete. He is a little mad that you traded his best friend once he found that out.
I got Pascal Siakam, so evens out.
But CJ is like his buddy.
Yeah,
CJ Ellaby, not CJ McCollum. You traded him.
Well, I tried to send his buddy somewhere he could shine, aka your team, Eric, Detroit. So he should be happy for Mr. Ellaby that he goes somewhere where he should start and play 36 minutes a game.
So I should go after him.
I mean, you don't got the cap space for that, so good luck.
I'm just joking.
But
I love Norm, but yeah, he doesn't make sense on mine too.
Yeah, good luck getting him to Detroit, man. I don't think Ellaby has that much pull to get him to sign a minimum there. So yeah, you're running the free agency, so I'm kind of following your lead here with everything.
All right. I'll just kind of go through it. So I have a couple of GMs that were pretty aggressive right off the bat, sent several emails. I thought we were going to have a few signings right away without having to wait. But surprisingly, other teams offered more or similar offers for those same players. For example, we have two Eastern Conference teams both willing to give an offer sheet to one Lonzo Ball for max contract.
And when you told me that before this stream, yeah, kind of wild there. That's all I'm gonna say. Just kind of wild, kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense to the two teams that are doing it, but Ash is now saying like,
yeah, Ash is running the Pelicans. That's why he says bruh. I mean, but you traded for Terry Rozier, so there's your replacement potentially.
Ben, when have I ever capped? I don't cap, man.
Eric's never capped. I am witness to Eric always telling the truth. He's never lied. So yeah, we don't have a announcement on which one of those two teams it is yet.
Yeah.
But it is two Eastern Conference teams.
Ash, would you consider matching a max offer for him?
Yeah. I'd be interested to see his decision. He said bruh, so I feel like he would lean towards no. But a max for Lonzo Ball is quite an overpay.
The Bulls and Knicks do not have the cap space to offer him a max. So.
Yep. The Knicks used their cap space to trade for CJ McCollum. That was the 3-team deal that got Siakam to Portland. Okay, so New Orleans said they ain't matching that, so he's going to be a member of one of those two teams, most likely.
Yep, unless if you want to get into the mix for a max offer for Lonzo Ball to have, LeVar has taken all the inquiries about his son, so he'll be answering your emails if you want to get into the max sweepstake for LeVar, considering he's the best.
He probably told him that they're not paying enough, huh?
I want more than the max for my son.
Yep. So
he's the best player in the NBA.
Lonzo's getting a lot of love. What else, Eric?
All right. Well, if you want to respond to your first email, we might have our first signing.
Okay. Did that one surprise you?
A little bit, just because of your roster spot issues, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have roster spot issues. What do you mean?
Well, I know you got all those like second round picks and stuff. I'm guessing you did made most of them two ways.
Yeah, I still have the option to make one of them a two-way. So I drafted BJ Boston, Joel Ayayi, Neemias Queta. Honestly, I'm confident in Ayayi just having a normal roster spot and in a pinch being able to step in and not hurt the team if he's needed. If there's an injury issue, I think that guy will be one of the more ready-to-play guys taken outside of the lottery in this year's draft. That's why I got him. I got him with the 46th pick. I think that's a steal. Queta's also a guy who... I don't know. I wouldn't want him playing, but I feel like he's very underrated. I got him at the very back end of the second round, and I feel like he's a borderline first-round prospect, can defend and rebound. So if in a pinch, could step in and probably do that at a decent enough level to not really crush the team. Either BJ Boston's the guy I took 34th. He is more of a project who I wouldn't want seeing minutes. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, Philadelphia is hot after several prospects. They offered. Jared and Dallas made a late push, but between those two, they're by far the most offers between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of these guys I'd like to give.
All right, there you go, Eric. There's your reply to that.
Whoa.
Did you just get... What email did you get that just made you say, whoa?
Just some guy I've never heard of.
Yeah, so basically the process is, I kind of explained it, just every GM, every team is sending emails to Eric and he's handling things that way, so I'm sure he'll get a few during the stream.
And I also have, so I have a panel that will help me decide if there's close offers or whatever, what they think this free agent would do. Mm-hmm. And then also we use the random number generator. Like, for example, the two teams that are offering Lonzo Ball, I mean, it's kind of unfair to put one team ahead of the other one. So it might just be one team gets 1 through 50 and the other gets, 51 through 100. And we just roll the random number generator and whoever comes out. Yeah.
I mean, we could do that right now if you want.
I'll give people a few.
I don't
like
think anybody else that has the space to give a max contract, I don't think any of those people will give him a max contract.
Let's announce your signing. So
okay, yeah. I'm probably going to get criticized for this. People are going to be like, what in the world? But go ahead.
So the first signing of the 2021 Blazers Uprise mock offseason is by your Portland Trail Blazers. And they have signed a player on a 2-year minimum contract. And Tori, tell us about this player.
All right, so I'm signing, I think he's Serbian. His name is Nikola Kalinic. I might have butchered his name, but he's starting Kalinic, something like that. But so you see a lot of European guys come over in the past like 5 years that nobody knows about, and then they end up becoming solid role players. You know, they know how to play a role. They play a style of basketball that I feel like can fit in the NBA. You look at like a Joe Ingles, a Daniel Tice, a Maxi Kleber, guys kind of in that mold. So basically, this is a guy who can defend, can shoot the ball a little bit, is a smart passer, a decent playmaker for being a forward. He's a small forward, power forward type. So basically, I'm just, for a minimum contract, I'd rather sign a guy from Europe like that, and maybe he's able to play a role and kind of turn into a good role player like we've seen some random European guys turn into in the past few years. I mean, look at Campazzo, for instance, last year for the Nuggets. And if not, he's a minimum contract that can be thrown into trades, or I could cut him or whatever. So that's the thought process there.
Mm-hmm. Is Serbia in the Olympics?
I
think they are, right?
I think they lost. I think they lost their qualifier final to Italy. Yeah. Because Italy played their way in it was either Italy or Czech Republic. No, the Czech Republic beat Greece. Been trying to keep up on my my Olympic stuff, so yeah. So there's an international player signing. Wanted to make a little bit of a surprise and a little bit of a splash, so there you go. Honestly, I would be happy if the Blazers took a chance on a guy like that in real life. Maybe that's not that guy. Obviously, the Blazers have more people in place to kind of vet EuroLeague prospects a little bit better than me, but that's the thing with Olshey is he's always sounded like an Anthony Tolliver or a Mario Hezonja or a Nick Stauskas or a, just Tim Quarterman, Luis Montero. Like, guys at the end of the roster that never would amount to anything. You know what I mean? And didn't have much of a chance to amount to anything. I feel like when has Olshey ever taken a chance on a European guy, bringing them over? Teams that have actually had a pretty good success rate. So I was just trying to identify, a guy that could play defense and shoot the ball, like a 3-and-D guy. And then he has a little bit of playmaking ability at a forward spot. So thought he was intriguing.
Interesting, yeah.
So, anyway. What else you got?
I think I'll just announce this one. Furkan Korkmaz is headed back to the 76ers on a 2-year, $10 million total deal. So
that's a solid value.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a solid value. Shout out to Chris, who's running the Sixers. Getting him back for $5 million a year is actually probably a little bit cheaper than he'll get in real life, in my opinion. So, very, very solid signing there.
Yep. A lot of people after like two-way guys.
Mm-hmm.
Should I have Colin sign for that?
I mean, dude, if he's getting that much right off the bat with his injury situation, I think he's taking it. So yeah. I would announce it. It sucks, it hurts, but
it's close to his qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Let me just find it. All right, so Zach Collins is headed to Cleveland and to play with Westbrook and.
You mean to sit on the bench and watch Westbrook?
Yes. So he is signed for a 2-year deal at almost $7.5 million per year.
I mean, you're gonna give him 15 guaranteed, 15
Yeah.
million guaranteed when he's had the same injury and re-injured it 3 times. Yeah, that's an overpayment. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of that signing for Dizzy D. Dizzy D is running Cleveland there, and yeah, Zach going for $7.5 million a year is kind of wild.
Yeah, and then yeah, so he appreciated what Portland did for him, but yeah, he had to take the money in that situation, not knowing the future of his foot and stuff like that. Yeah, little confusing because Dizzy D, of course, is trying to make a playoff push by getting Westbrook and stuff like that. But if he's not available for part of the season, then that makes it a little tougher.
Yep. Alrighty, Eric, what's next?
I think the rest will just be mostly rumors. So,
Okay.
Nerlens Noel has heard from at least 3 teams, all pretty good situations for him. So he's definitely receiving a lot of interest. Millsap was prepared to go back to the Nuggets, but has received a couple of offers in the last hour or so that he's made him question that for a little bit.
Who was that again? Sorry, I was emailing.
Paul Millsap.
Okay. I feel like people early are gonna overpay, and then you're gonna be able to get some bargains, which is kind of how it was on the trade market too. Like people get antsy and just go in.
That would be. I mean, that happens in real life too. So
yeah,
not quite.
Not quite Lonzo Ball max territory.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, Chris Stevens is out. I haven't responded to this one yet, but Reggie Jackson will not be joining the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's just say that.
Oh, really?
He is very mad at them and feels completely disrespected by their
offer him the
minimum contract offers.
I mean, shoot or shoot, man, but my goodness, minimum. Oh, yeah, my.
Not a good look in Reggie's eyes.
I mean, I think he's like a $10 million a year plus guy, given how well he played in the playoffs. 6'3", but has a 7-foot wingspan. Shot the lights out of the ball all season long. I mean, he kind of had a revival this year for the Clippers, and he kind of carried them for stretches in the playoffs. So a minimum is pretty low ball. Chris says, don't ask, don't get.
In the 76ers defense, though, he's the only one who's contacted him, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I had traded Simons, in the trade, if I trade like Simons and CJ for Siakam, I would be knocking down his door right now. And just assuming I didn't have enough either with the taxpayer mid-level exception. So
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's a guy that should be getting good offers here. But yeah, Chris Stevens, like I said, 76ers were just, they're going for quantity versus like which is a fair strategy. People asked me in several emails like, hey, so if I'm going after a restricted free agent, like how much should I offer them? Or how many times should I email an offer? How many different people should I offer? And I'm like, those are all, as the GM, decisions you need to make. And I can't tell you how to run your free agency. So you may do something that works well for one free agent, but not for another one. And I kind of have fun getting into character with some of these. If someone could please just like go after Hassan Whiteside. Poor Hassan. He wants to talk. I love being Hassan last year. Trevin, if he's watching, we had some fun back and forth.
Eric does a good job with pretending to be certain players. It's funny. Yeah, the Hassan stuff last year was funny. But so I will say this. Wait, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying, Trevin kind of irritated Hassan when he didn't think he could play power forward when Hassan thought he could, and conversation from there.
And then he ends up. Didn't he get like $20 million a year last offseason or something for like 2 years?
I don't remember if it was that much. It was might have been 15 or something.
Yeah, it was one of the worst signings of last year's mock offseason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will say this little detour if you want to think about what free agent you want to talk about next. I have been working on a multi-team trade with Derrick Jones Jr., but we're struggling to find the right team to be a part of that multi-team trade. That's all I'm going to say about it. Yeah, so who's the next free agent, Eric?
All right. There's another player I've never heard of.
Are they European guys?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm guessing because I don't know how to
Discord message them to me and I'll see if I've heard of them. Because if you haven't heard of them, they must be a pretty obscure...
I mean, it could just be like undrafted guys that I'm just not thinking of right now, but I think these are... Yeah. And for the record, it's hard to get people to come over from international competition to be on two ways. That's usually not the best profitable situation for those guys. Like Torrey did with his. He offered an actual roster spot. That's usually the best way to get them to come over, especially if the rules go back to the old way for two ways next year.
Yes, 100%. European guys would rather stay in Europe than play in the G League for most of the year, to be honest. So,
yeah. Let's see who else is getting a lot of attention. We do have one team that has talked to Carmelo Anthony. Yep, and there's also several GMs I have not heard anything from. Make sure you at least contact me, or if you have a free agent, even if he's restricted, it's probably a good idea to just reach out to him and let him know you're still interested in having him back. Thanks, Malcolm. And then, just don't go AWOL for days and we don't hear from you, because that makes it a lot harder on what to do. Say, if you're a team with a lot of free agents like the Clippers, you don't want to not show up for a couple days and then have us wondering what you're doing, and then have all your players sign elsewhere, and then yeah. So please try to contact me as soon as possible, even if it's just to let me know on Discord that you are following it with free agency. You just haven't made an offer yet, or just some, so I know you're paying attention if you haven't emailed any of the people yet. Yep. And then oh yeah, that's what I said. I told Trevin and Sasan I'm a shooter. Watch out for the snipers.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
That was so fun.
What else you got? I was hoping we were going to be able to announce more signings.
Yeah, I feel like there's still not enough teams that have offered, but especially since we just opened it up a few hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, we let people know in advance. We're hoping people were ready. But on Monday, we'll cover a lot more.
Yeah. So just some players thrown out there that have gotten several teams inquiring. Those include Danny Green, Nerlens Noel, I already mentioned. Nicholas Batum's getting some offers. Yeah.
Nick Batum he said bye. He basically sounded like he was saying bye to the Clippers.
I think a lot of people did. Didn't a couple other players do something similar too?
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of weird, so I don't know what the situation is there. But yeah, I'm like working like I'm sitting here having to work on 2 different plans. So that's the thing. For me that's what's tough is I have multiple plans that I'm trying to figure out, and obviously I have them prioritized. Which is essentially how you should go into things in free agency for the most part.
Yep.
Thomas Horansky says, "Are my emails going through?"
Yes, they're just... You didn't start emailing until, like, right when we were starting this show. So I told Tori like a half an hour before we came on that I was going to just spend that half an hour responding to emails, and I haven't gotten caught up to the closest ones yet. But yeah, I mean, ones just saying, "Hey, how's your off season going?" aren't the first ones I'm going to respond to either.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I am getting them, Tommy.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking that another team is A, going to offer Lonzo a max. B, I feel like Lonzo right off the bat, if he gets offered a max, is just taking it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I thought, but then, yeah, another offer.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I am down to flip a coin or something between those 2 teams. If you want, I think we should.
Okay.
So if you have a coin you want to flip, or if you want me to do it.
Yeah, or you can use the RNG if you want.
Yeah, I'll use the RNG.
So wait, let me just... Have I sent the teams yet?
No, you haven't.
Okay. So let's make sure they're both here.
I don't think Embarking Box is here. But
okay.
They don't need to be here. Sotvix is in here.
All right. So Sotvik, are you? Oh, Embarking Box is here. All right. So the teams are Embarking Box in Toronto and Sotvik with the Washington Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know before we roll is if Sotvik is prepared to clear that couple $1 million to get enough room to get that if he does get that.
He would have to.
If you want, you guys will roll right now. If you both want in on this, we'll roll right now. Okay, so he says yes. So yeah, we'll roll.
All right.
Your emails are not too professional. They're great. You just might want to like start giving more definitive offers eventually. But yeah.
All right. So Toronto is 1. Washington is 2. I'm not putting it up on the screen. I'm just gonna roll it. Toronto. He signs with Toronto.
All right. Lonzo
Offer sheet with Toronto. Ash, you have 48 hours to officially decide. You can decide right now if you want to match that offer sheet or let him go to Toronto for a max contract.
He says, nope, bye-bye.
Alrighty.
So, with that, he has now had to renounce the rights to Kyle Lowry, so Lowry will not be back in Toronto. So Lowry becomes a little easier for some teams to get, or harder, depending on if you were hoping for a sign and trade or something. But yeah.
Yep. Alrighty. So Lonzo to Toronto for a max contract. Thoughts, Eric?
I don't mind the fit. I kind of I'm trying to think Well, he has another big free agent I think fits well in the backcourt, and if that's your backcourt of the future, just for everyone paying it or who hasn't followed along, he did trade Van Vliet, so he's no longer there. But he got Tyrese Maxey in that deal, so you now have Maxey, Lonzo, and if you re-sign your other free agent from the Portland Trailblazers that was traded over there. He also traded Siakam. He went super young, so most of his team is all like rookies and second-year players and third-year players and stuff like that. So they definitely went full rebuild in Toronto. I don't know if signing Lonzo to the max is what I would have done. Probably not.
Yeah, a little man overpayment. It's an overpayment for sure.
Yeah, and the problem with that is it might be one of those contracts, like even if he plays well, it's hard to trade him or move him for pieces down the road. But yeah, it's so the max starts at 28 something million. 28,103,550, and over the course of the 4 years will be $120,845,000. So he gave him 4 years, 120 million.
Yep.
So roughly 30 million a year on average.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't even know if I'd offer him 20, which I think he'll get offered around 20. In real life, definitely shelling out a lot of cash for him though.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of like the. I need to look at his team now.
He has George Hill that he's trying to move off of.
Yeah,
right now.
Obviously he's got some vets still that he had to take back for salary reasons and trades. Saturansky probably fits in that with George Hill.
Yeah.
But, he took a chance on Culver and Knox. Probably not great. But he's got P.J. Washington, Miles Bridges on the wing. And then he's got... who did he trade for? Isaiah Stewart?
Yeah.
I think had another...
Drafted Kuminga. Did you say that?
Drafted Kuminga. I did not say that. So, yeah, he's got a bunch of young athletic wings and bigs and stuff, so might be kind of fun just to have like a young running team, just fast break teams to death, run them to death, and I don't mind that strategy at all. I probably
he has a sense of direction,
yeah.
Even though I feel like maybe the value he's getting in some of his moves isn't good. He has a sense of direction, so
yep. He picked up some future picks too, some future firsts in trades as well. So not a bad way to start a rebuild with stockpiling some future assets and then just going completely young.
Yep. Somebody asked about Ben Simmons and the Sixers. Ben Simmons is still on the Sixers.
Yeah.
So is Tobias Harris. So is Joel Embiid. Yep. They traded for Fred VanVleet. So I don't know. I don't think they're planning on moving Ben Simmons anymore. I mean, I might be wrong, but I know their GM had talks surrounding Ben Simmons with multiple teams, but hasn't moved him. So maybe another year of Ben Simmons there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I like the VanVleet move for them. I thought that was a good pickup. You have to give up Maxey, but they're in win now mode, so I didn't think that was that high of a price tag for VanVleet compared to some of the other trades that happened. So
yeah,
I kind of feel like VanVleet is one of those guys who can kind of steady that team a little bit. So I thought that was a good move there. And just to respond to Zach, so Zachary, we just announced some decisions of people who were obviously not going to get much more than that, or just a couple that you always have ones that sign in the first few minutes of free agency. So we didn't really go crazy. It's just a few of them.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. You can schedule emails to be sent at 5 p.m., which is when free agency starts. That's why I just scheduled a couple emails.
Yeah, but the first ones were all from you.
Yeah. Yeah, said through right at 5 o'clock. So, yeah. Is that it for free agent talk for
That
the mock off season?
that is it in terms of what I'm prepared to talk about. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to talk a little bit? You want to just transition to talking a little bit about Dame's answers to the interviews today, or?
Yeah. I mean, I really only saw the one. That's probably the most important one. But yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any specific quotes. Let me see if I can find some specific quotes. Can you guys DM me a link with quotes from that Dame article and I can read them? If you can DM me, I don't exactly know where to go to find that. But basically, let me just say this about Dame before I read off some of those quotes. He's not gonna demand a trade this offseason. They got the coach that he said he wanted at the start of things. Actually, the one quote, I want to read it off like word for word because a lot of people, it's important. But Dame ain't requesting a trade this offseason. There's a bunch of Laker fans and fans all over, posting him saying he's going to come to their team. Blazer fans get a little too upset about that. Like, of course other teams' fans are going to want Dame. He's Damian Lillard. Who wouldn't want Dame? Mm-hmm. So I can't even, sure, it might be a little annoying, but there's nothing to get too worked up about. Like, they can think they're going to get him. They're just going to be wrong at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So that's on them. You know what I mean? Let him be wrong then. He ain't going anywhere, and the quotes that he gave today kind of shouting. Didn't necessarily want to watch the video, so people were sending me videos. Here's a quote. One of the quotes he had said, "It's a lot of things being said. Sometimes words are being put in my mouth when I haven't said anything. It's been a lot of talk. I don't really have anything to say to you guys about it." I assume that's about the trade talk.
I think that is specifically about the Chris Haynes stuff.
Yeah.
Because every time Chris Haynes talks about Dame, you got all these people saying, "Oh, see, Dame talked to him. This is Dame sounding off." Well, the last two times, so we had Dame come out a few weeks ago when Chris Haynes did that and say, "I did not say that. He is not speaking for me." And then this time, again, he says people are putting words in his mouth. He did not say that stuff. So, and I don't, is this the next part about, like, if the media that's covered me knew me or whatever?
I don't know. There's nothing else that I see.
So he mentioned, like, those that have covered me for almost 10 years now would know, like, I speak my mind. I say I will come out and tell you guys if I feel that way. So he is trying to say that he doesn't put out rumors through someone else. He comes out and says it. So, like, for people to just infer that that's definitely him speaking through somebody. Like, and he got kind of mad at Chris Haynes the time before this for coming out with that article because, like he said, he would just tell people if he wanted it out there. So,
but then,
go ahead.
Chris Haynes ends up DMing 503, who's one of the bigger Blazer fan accounts on Twitter. I don't remember the exact quote there. I can't scroll back far enough because Trevin decided to be ridiculous today. But yeah, so I can't find the exact quote, but basically Chris Haynes told 503 that he and Dame have always been cool, and I don't know if somebody can paraphrase it in chat, I'll read it off because there is more to it, but I don't really remember.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, Dave's not saying he's like not going to talk to Chris anymore. That's not like happening, or it might not be his feelings or whatever. But but yeah, it's just a case of, like, he just doesn't want people to think that what Chris Haynes is him talking. Chris Haynes is his own person. Dame is his own person, and that's how I feel it was viewed. And Dame also said that those that I think he was saying, like, with the media comment that I've said nothing this whole time, but I want to be here. Like, I would tell you guys if I don't want to be here or if that's changed. And I haven't said any of that to you guys. So, like, it drives me crazy that all you guys are like, I'm unhappy, I'm gonna leave, all this stuff, or I want things to change or I'm out of here. When I've said all along, and we've said this on the program, that if you don't believe Dame, you're basically saying he is a liar and like not like trusting his character as a person, because he said time and time again that he wants to be in Portland. He would rather lose in Portland fighting as hard as he can than get traded to another team and win a title cheaply or because they're on a super team or whatever. So unless he somehow just changes who he is as a person, I feel like people who think he wants out are questioning his whole character, and I don't like that. And I think he's getting frustrated at that narrative that's being brought about by mostly Blazer media this summer, and it's driving him crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna buy anything. How many times have we heard talk around Dame not being happy? I mean, media wants him out of Portland. I'm not going to buy too much into it, and I feel like fans were buying too much into it as well. And I told you guys when it happened, like, it's probably not going to get any worse than this. It's Chris Haynes coming out and saying that. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, Dame probably isn't thrilled with the organization. He's probably more upset than he's ever been, but that doesn't mean he wants out. He wants positive changes being made. I think he's excited to play for Chauncey. I think Olshey's going to be aggressive this offseason and maybe move CJ. Here's the thing, though. Dame has wanted CJ in Portland, so because they haven't traded him before this doesn't mean that Dame should be pissed off about that, because Dame, from all accounts, hasn't wanted CJ to be traded in the first place. So I don't know how Dame could sit here now and be mad that CJ's still on the roster when that's what Dame had wanted before this. So that's the thing, is like, if he wants, doesn't think he and CJ can work and wants Norman Powell to be his starting two guard instead, then I think Olshey is going to do everything in his power to make that happen and to move CJ and to make Norman Powell the starting shooting guard. You have a lot of people in this fan base that hate Neil Olshey and will try and craft up random narratives to make him seem as bad as possible and to get mad at him for whatever they can. I mean, in the past day, you've had people mad at him over a random leak of potential assistant coaches for Chauncey Billups, who has the power to choose his own assistant coaching staff. Olshey isn't the one sitting here choosing Chauncey Billups' coaching staff. It's Chauncey Billups, yet you had a lot of people getting mad at Olshey for a random leak of a few potential assistant coaches for us. That shows how people want to get mad at Neil Olshey. They, legitimately hate him. It's a personal thing for a lot of Blazer fans with Neil Olshey. So, I mean, you'll hear a ton of narratives being crafted. I mean, you heard something today, some random, person said Neil... Oh, this is from a source. Neil wants to get fired so he can go to a big market, and you had all the people that hate him buying it up, like, see, we need to fire him, we need to get rid of him because he doesn't want to be here, he wants to be in LA.
He's trying to lose on purpose to get fired.
I mean, come on, man. The narrative surrounding Neil Olshey and this organization from, the half of the fan base that, is big Pinwheel Empire fans and just buys into everything that Sean Highkin says. And you have Sean Highkin at the USA media availability asking about Chauncey Billups, allegations and whatnot, even though it's not Portland Trailblazer media availability, it's Team USA media availability. Of course, Sean Highkin is going to, ask that when he'll have numerous chances in the future to ask something like that to Dame, whether it's, in the press conference or, in a press conference with Dame or a little bit more behind the scenes. He would have had the chance to ask that question. So you kind of got a little bit of a witch hunt. I don't know if witch hunt is necessarily the right way to phrase it, but you have a lot of people that are basically acting like they're trying to run Neil Olshey out of town, and it's just kind of muddied the narrative around the organization and muddied the waters in terms of the talk surrounding the Portland Trailblazers, that I'm not buying into any of it. I'm not going to read into Olshey wants to get fired according to my source or any of that type of crap. I'm just going to sit back, enjoy the Olympics. I think Dame will be here next year. There's no reason to believe anything else. And we'll move past this, and everybody that's upset now will still be upset, until Olshey's fired, and they can be. It's not gonna, I don't know. It is not something to really buy into too much.
And what's funny is a lot of those same people with all these narratives are the same people who said that Dame would never allow Stotts getting fired either, right? But so, Shervin and Franklin's World in chatter saying Dame's been different this summer, though. Like, his attitude has changed. He's not reaffirming those things. So here's the deal. Dame is pissed. I'd be pissed too. I'd be frustrated. I thought I had a good coach. Like, Dame thought Stotts was a good coach, and he couldn't even get the defense past the third worst defense of all time this year, and He actually plays. Dame has his best playoff series, and they can't beat an injured Denver Nuggets team. Yes, I'm frustrated if I'm him. That doesn't necessarily mean that frustration means he wants to leave Portland, because
that's exactly what I said. Yeah,
and honestly, I think the difference is it's not him wanting to leave Portland. I think it's him realizing that maybe these guys that I've gone to battle with that I thought could maybe help me get there aren't going to help me get there as much as I thought. And that's primarily CJ not stepping up. So he can like CJ, and maybe in the past he's defended him. I'm sure maybe there's even been talks of should we deal him or whatever. Because keep in mind, both the last two free agencies, Dame has said he's been in the room with Neil Olshey during free agency, watched him work, said he was in on everything going on. That's backed up by the fact that Cantor said he had 5 minutes to decide or whatever, and then Dame was like, no, that's BS. I was there. Yeah. You had this much time. You knew how much we were going to offer you, because that was the most we could offer you as a free agent, and you we're wishy-washy and stuff, and Neil told you, look, we don't have time to wait. Either you let us know or not in this amount of time, and you were given more time than you said you give. So that was 2 years ago. Last year came out and he said he was with Neil. It wasn't pretty. They didn't get what they wanted to get done, but he said that wasn't for a lack of Neil trying. Neil tried everything he could to improve the team, and they actually felt like they did improve the team. He just was a little disappointed they couldn't get a couple other things done. I don't know what that means in particular, but Dame has said that the last two off seasons. So and then Neil says in every press conference that lately that he runs most things by Neil. Quick backs this up with some of his interviews and sayings, is that so apparently Olshey gives Dame a list and hey, these are some of the guys I'm considering trading for. Do any of these guys jump out at you or whatever? And Dame will be I want this guy, I don't want this guy, or whatever. And so then Neil will try to get the guy he wants or whatever. And I'm sure Rocco was one of those guys, And so yeah, I don't think people just assume that he's mad at Olshey because the team sucks or whatever. But I don't think the team sucks because of Olshey either, which is the problem. And I don't think Dame necessarily thinks the team sucks because of Olshey. It fits all their narratives that Olshey sucks and he's the worst person of all time. So, of course, they're going to equate it with that. But I don't think that's the case here. I think this is the first summer where he's his attitude is different, because he's you know what, maybe moving CJ for just a different player, as much as I love CJ, maybe it's time to split us up or whatever. When before, because the same thing you can say about Olshey not defending the backcourt and stuff like that. Dame said the same thing. Look at the press conference with Aaron Frentress earlier in the season when oh, so you said you didn't think Dame or CJ and me were the best backcourt in the NBA, and he gives that stare or whatever. Like, he's not defending CJ, just like Olshey's not defending CJ this summer. So I think that those kind of things have changed in his mind. Like, not that he wants CJ gone or he hates CJ now or anything like that. I think he just realizes that maybe it's time to split them up, and it might be better for both of them to do that. And I don't think he'll be mad if CJ's back on the team, as long as they try to explore options with him. And I'm not saying their relationship is soured or anything like that. I just think Dame is like, man, I need someone who I can count on. I thought it was CJ, and I don't know if it is anymore. I'm not 100% sure like I was. I don't think it's that I want to leave Portland.
Yep, I agree. So something else that was touched upon was when the vacancy became open, Dame tossed out a couple names, and at the time he didn't know the stuff surrounding Chauncey Billups and apparently Jason Kidd either when he tossed out both those names right at the start of the vacancy. You know, right after Stotts got fired, he tossed out Chauncey Billups' name. He didn't know the allegation for Chauncey Billups. I fully believe that. Most people didn't know the allegation for Chauncey Billups. And then it becomes a situation where, you know, all the noise comes out and the organization does a thorough investigation. And Dame said, quote, our organization, they said they did a thorough investigation. They went through everything and they went through the process of hiring a coach. That's not my decision or my job to say this guy's hired or this guy's not hired. So Dame tossed out a name without knowing the allegation. All the noise came out and the organization looked into it. And Dame said it wasn't his place or job to say whether or not Chauncey was hired or not hired based off of it. He basically simply said, like, the organization said they did a thorough investigation, so I'm gonna go with what they decide. The fact that he got heat is just absolutely ridiculous. The fact that people questioned his character for that is just absolutely ridiculous, and that says everything you need to know about that section of the fan base. But, you know, now I'm sure they're relieved that Dame cleared it up, even though it was pretty much obvious from day one.
At the same time, though, it came out that Dame was part of at least one of the interviews with Chauncey. So I find it hard to believe that if they were talking about it, that Dame...
he knew, but he recommended Chauncey before that.
Right.
Like, he knew during, he knew during the process, and when he tweeted out that he, like, didn't know or whatever, like, I feel like a lot of people interpreted that as, like, at that moment, he was first hearing about it. And I feel like it was more Dame saying, like, when I recommended it, when I, brought up his name, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Dame cleared up today.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's good that he cleared that up. I don't know. Some people really want that question to be answered. Even though I thought it was pretty obvious. Like, Dame isn't a guy who steps in and, like, decides people's job status.
Yeah. For
better or worse. Right? We've known that about him for a while. So it's like, it would be the last thing Dame would do is step in and say, yeah, don't hire this guy or hire this guy, whatever. He would put his trust in the organization to vet it out. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of person Dame is. He would let the organization do their job, and the job of the organization is to do an investigation, try and find out as much as possible about it. So I felt like it was pretty obvious when he tossed out his name right at the beginning, when nobody really knew about it. It hadn't even been talked about, like, much at all since that incident took place in 1997. Like, nobody knew about that. So
but they just resurfaced after.
Exactly, after Dame tosses out his name. Yeah, so I figured it was pretty obvious that, Dame isn't tossing out his name and knowing what the case was. So I feel like everybody thank you for finally getting an answer to this question is just ridiculous, because I felt like it was obvious before.
Yeah, I think the timeline is a little messed up on that. And I don't know about in terms of Dame knowing, but I think we were talking about it a little before, because Billups' name had come up for a while before it even came up with Dame. If Stotts was let go, there was a quick interview on Primetime that this was during the season before Stotts was even fired, that he mentioned Chauncey Billups as the first name he could see potentially getting an interview for that. And then, several people brought up the minute like Dame said those two names, there were already people on Twitter bringing that stuff up.
So what are you saying?
I'm just saying, like, it was starting to become common knowledge before Dame said that. But
that doesn't mean Dame knows, and I feel
I'm not saying Dame knows. I'm just saying, like,
because Dame tossed out those names like right when Stotts got fired.
I know,
and
but
I feel like it wasn't common knowledge before that.
I think even we had been talking about it. Like, I'm not saying it's common knowledge for Dame. I'm saying, I think you made it sound like he mentioned those names, and then everyone dug into it, and we're like, wait a minute, Chauncey's a rapist or whatever, and then, but I think it started to come out before that happened.
Yeah, not nowhere near to the extent that it did, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember us having a conversation on it, and the only reason we would have had a conversation on it is because we've, are on the forum, and, like, occasionally I'll go over to Rip City Reddit, and I'm on Twitter. Like, that's the only reason we knew, is because we are on the internet so much, seeing what's said by so many Blazer fans. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, something like that, it's not like it was, I don't think it was common knowledge. It might have seemed like it was being talked about a lot, but that's probably because we see so many fans on the internet talking about it. So that was kind of an assumption. Is Dane, when he tossed out that name, didn't know. And that's what he cleared up today. It's pretty much exactly what I suspected. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I don't know if I don't remember if we talked about it before. We talked about before the Chauncey hire. I'm talking about before Dame tossed out Chauncey's name. I don't remember us discussing it.
Well, I mean, we talked all year about coaches we liked and stuff, but yeah, I don't remember exactly what we said about it. But.
Yeah. So.
But I remember the minute he said that, I was like, oh man, that sucks. He has two guys with questionable things that we're gonna have to deal with from here on out. But yeah,
I mean, it's just the heat that he was getting was ridiculous, though. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's just absolutely ridiculous, and that says everything you need to know about that section of the fan base that a year ago was like, well, you guys are so negative when it comes to Terry Stotts. Why can't you be positive? And now they're kind of in the mindset where they want to be outraged at any and everything. I mean, there's a section of the fan base that got outraged that we replaced BioFreeze with Stormex for our jersey sponsor patch. Bro, they got outraged over our sponsor patch. They're outraged at Olshey over the potential assistant coaches for Chauncey. It's just, I can't, that section of the fan base I just can't stand, man. It's just... Well,
yeah, I mean, they're not, the press conference introducing Billups, they don't say anything really bad about Billups. It's all, Olshey's such a jerk, like he handled that so bad.
Well, it's like, dude, going into that, there's no way that they were not going to say that. You knew, no matter what Olshey did, unless he said, hey guys, I resign, unless he said that, they were going to come out of that nitpicking anything, like, oh, look at the smirk he had here, when his, like, lip twitched or something. So it was going to be the outcome after that press conference, no matter what.
Well, No Way says they wanted Becky, but here's the deal. If they hired Becky, they would have been like, Neil didn't get his guy. What a loser. Fire him because he couldn't even get the coach he wanted. He had to settle for the coach Jody wanted, right?
Yeah, that would have been the narrative too. It wasn't, that was going to be the narrative no matter what. He hires Billups. Oh, of course, he just hires this guy all along. He wasn't even considering Becky. If they hired Becky, it's, Jody Allen won't even let Olshey hire a coach because Olshey sucks. Like, he's in a situation with a section of the fan base that there is nothing he can do outside of resigning that will please them in any sort of capacity, right? The last time they were okay with him was last offseason when they were saying, you know what, Olshey actually had a pretty good offseason. No more excuses. And the first sign of struggle, it's right back to Olshey, the roster sucks, you suck. And now it's at the point where it's like, I mean, he could trade for LeBron James, and there's a section of this fan base that would still just think he's a terrible GM and just absolutely sucks. Like, there's no winning with those guys. And I've interacted with that section of the fan base enough that I know that once they have their mind made up, there is nothing you can say where they will even listen, right? If you disagree with them, they will insult you. They will, you got this Hello Caitlyn girl on Twitter saying I bought my subscribers, apparently. And then you got this guy today saying, I'm not even going to talk about it, but if you saw the guy, basically dissing on my suit, I guess, when I went to a wedding. I mean, if you saw my Twitter today, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I didn't see this.
I mean, go to my Twitter, man. Somebody was dissing on my profile picture because I questioned Sean Hyken asking that question at Team USA media availability, saying that he would have had numerous opportunities in the future to ask that question in a more proper setting. And stuff like that. If you disagree with that section of the fan base, the Pinwheel Empire side of the fan base, they will insult you, they will degrade you, they will be as toxic as possible.
And I'm sorry, everyone that's watching, we brainwashed you guys, and we have started a cult without your knowledge, and you are all our cult members, and yeah.
That's we got told that as well. Yeah, that's what, a very small YouTube channel said about us. I'm not going to say what YouTube channel, don't go out of your way to hate them, but it's like...
Because we encourage people to think for themselves.
I mean, and then you got Dan Meringue, I'm not insulting him on Twitter, I'm just tearing apart his bad takes. Nothing personal, man. I'm just tearing apart his bad takes. And he just goes out of his way to call me an idiot and call me all sorts of names. That's kind of how he is with everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's just a toxic... The fan base has become toxified, man. It's just become a situation where you have differing opinions and people won't budge. And if you don't agree with their opinion, they will insult you, say you bought your followers, call your followers cult members, basically saying they can't even think. It's just ridiculous. So that's how that side of the fan base has always been and always will be.
And Slayer to Pimp, please don't tell my mom to beat it then for her opinion. That's not cool. So
that's an automatic permaban as far as I'm concerned.
I think he thought she was talking out. I don't think he knew she was my mom, but I think she was saying she doesn't trust Neil, which is perftly okay.
Which is perfectly fine, bro. Totally okay. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If somebody says they don't trust Neil, don't insult them.
Yeah.
Don't get mad. Like, that's what I'm speaking against right now. Yeah. I'm saying there's a side of the fan base that if you don't agree with their opinion, they'll be mean or insulting or toxic. Okay? So just because somebody disagrees with us and say they don't trust lawyers, yada, 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 that's perfectly fine. Like, shoot, I don't even know 100% if I trust O'Shea either. I don't even disagree with your mom. Like, definitely, like, it's just, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm speaking against. Don't be like that section of the fan base that I'm speaking against right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a double standard, if I let that happen. I mean, you can go and, when Dan Meringue is calling me an idiot, you can go and call him whatever you want. You know what I mean? I don't care about that. But if somebody just has an honest opinion, don't attack them for it. Don't insult them for it. Like, if it's just an honest opinion, don't do that. It's just...
Well, like, the cult and brainwash thing was unsolicited. We weren't even part of that conversation. Nor did the person he responded to even mention us. But then him and them were just like, oh, don't listen to him. He watches Blazers Uprise. Just because he said something that, like, O'Shea wasn't, like, the worst GM ever or something like that. It wasn't even, like something outrageous or anything like that. And so, like, they're like, oh, yeah, he must watch Blazers Uprise and all this stuff. We're like, what the heck? Like, we didn't say anything. And then they're like, mentioning how we bring them up all the time. Like, dude, go away. Don't talk about us. But it's like I will say during the press conference, I have a problem with the way they handled it. I do not think they handled it right. And even looking back at it now, I have more of a problem with some of his answers, especially since the next day it comes out that they did hire a really reputable person, a former FBI agent who has done several investigations like this. Just all the things they did, going back through the old interviews, interviewing witnesses again, all that kind of stuff. It's like, if you're going to leak it the next day, why not just come out and say it at the interview? It's so dumb. Like, you came across, like, looking like jerks or whatever because you were cutting off people just wanting to know about it. So,
but here's the thing: like, if they could have been legally liable if they came out and
right,
said
I
it, where it could have
understand
been
all that.
like easily tied
But, like,
back to Olshey saying it at a press conference.
But like, say that we hired a firm. I cannot legally disclose that which
Yeah.
firm or what we did, and you can leak it later, whatever. But you can't. I understand if you can't say it, but to say like, "Oh, trust me, you're just gonna have to trust me on this one." I felt like that, like knowing if you just take the temperature of the room, that those kind of statements would not come across well, and cutting off questions and not even letting them ask and stuff like that. I just felt like that would have been the perfect time to just be like, you know what? We understand the complexity of this issue. We're going to sit here and listen to all your concerns. I felt like that just would have been a much better handling of the situation. I mean, it's not wrong what they did. I'm just saying, like, from a PR standpoint, if they wanted this to get better, I just feel like they could have handled it a little better at the press conference. So it's not like always, like Olshey is perfect or anything. We're not like super pro Olshey, like he can do no wrong. That's not the case. Like he could have not been a jerk about it, but at the same time, no matter what he says in that interview, like you said earlier, people are going to find a way to complain about him anyway. So, yeah.
Yep. Here's the thing. Like, I'm cool if you criticize Olshey if you back it up and it's obviously not just a witch hunt. You know what I mean? Like, we criticize Stotts all year long, but we backed it up. We had legitimate reasoning for criticizing Olshey, and we backed it up in a way that the people that disagreed with us did a really bad job of counter-arguing, you know? And that's because it wasn't like we wanted to hate Stotts, which there's a lot of people that want to hate Olshey. That's the difference. Yeah. We didn't want to hate Stotts. We just didn't think he did a good enough job. There's people out here that are at the point where they want to hate Olshey. And it's obvious because anytime they ever get a chance, no matter how ridiculous it is, they'll run with it and they'll hate on him. And they won't listen to any sort of logic. You'll say Chauncey decides his assistant coach is not Olshey. They won't even say anything and they'll go somewhere else on Twitter and complain about Olshey and the potential assistant coaches that got leaked.
I had some guy make up that Olshey had like 7 or 8 allegations against him in the past. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Can you provide me some sort of link or just some sort of proof of that? And never heard from the dude again. It's like, you don't have to make up stuff. Like, if you want to talk about basketball and his decision in 2016 and the 2017 draft, like, fine. Like, I get all that. But, like, I mean, he doesn't have to be, like, a nice guy to be a good GM. It's probably better that he's not, like, a nice guy to be a good GM. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just... Then you got, like, Eric Griffiths to come out with an article about the business side of it, and maybe the Blazers and Olshey don't even want to win. Like, they just want to get paid and get tax relief.
He's at Blazers Edge, right?
I think he's now at Willamette Weekly or something.
But he came from Blazers Edge. Blazers, my goodness.
Yep. But yeah, so in order for that to be true, you want it. It doesn't make sense because that would basically be like saying, okay, Jody doesn't care about winning, yet if you saw her at the Western Conference Finals run, there's no way you could think that's true.
Yeah.
She came to every game she could this year. Obviously, that wasn't a true judge of whether she could go or not because of COVID and all that stuff. And then Quick, once again, has said that she is super results-oriented, and that's why, like, when we have the 29th ranked defense, she's like, well, why aren't we seeing results? We signed these free agents, we traded for Rocco, like, why aren't we doing this? So, she wants to win, apparently, according to Quick, but yet these people come out and say, oh, because she got a tax break because of something, which every sports team does, that means they don't want to win. And then they tie it back to Olshey not wanting to win as well. And the funny thing about that is, so why would Dame want Olshey to be the GM still? Why would Olshey be the GM if he is not trying to win? Dame would know that. Dame would understand through everything that he's gone through with Neil that this guy does not get it. He is not doing what's best for me or whatever. And that guy would be gone tomorrow, because if you lose Dame, you lose a huge amount of money, and your franchise worth goes way down if Dame requests a trade tomorrow, right? Yeah. So why would they keep a person in charge simply to make Dame mad and give like a bad team or whatever just to only care about the tax breaks and stuff like that? It makes no sense if you think about it. These people are reaching so hard to bash Olshey for something that there's no way a GM of an NBA team would not want to try and put his best team on the floor and not want to win games. Because not only does he know Olshey, if he doesn't do a good job this year and they don't make a run in the playoffs next year, he's done. He knows that. He's gone. There's no way he'll be kept after next year if they do not do well, or if Billups turns out to be a bad coach or struggles or whatever. He's gone. Like, there's no way around that. And Olshey needs to be able to still get another job in the NBA or do whatever. Like, he's not going to sabotage this situation. He's not going to sabotage it with Dame, knowing he has to keep Dame happy. So that makes no sense. And this guy traded Gary Trent for Norman Powell. Those kind of trades do not make sense if you're trying to do like the cheap way, or like get out of winning, or you don't care about wins or losses or whatever. They went for it this year. They traded 2 future first-round picks for Robert Covington. Those type of trades do not happen for organizations who are not trying to win. So all this crap that all these stupid media members keep saying are just wrong. They're making crap up to want to get more people to bash Olshey so that by some time they'll just fire him. And if he gets fired, that's going to be on his own doing. I just don't get how they're making up all these things about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, at this point, I don't care if he gets fired. Might be able to have some peace and harmony, for these people, And then it's like we get a new GM and we don't even trade CJ, and then they hate him automatically.
Here's the problem, though. Get a new GM, right? And then this is the first thing those people will ask, like, okay, so are you going to support a rapist or are you going to fire him? And then they'll, if he answers like, well, I'm going to look at it like, no, that's not acceptable, like that. And it won't be as bad as with Olshey, but that's what they did with Dame, right?
Yeah, I don't even want to think. I don't even want to enter this hypothetical because, I mean, you're probably right. It's just sad. So, yeah, I mean, whatever. Just don't buy into things too much that is said around the team. Like, that's my only, if you take away one thing from the stream, it's don't buy into narratives that get thrown out there surrounding the organization. All right?
But yeah, we're the idiot clowns for talking about it sensibly and just pointing out that their theories don't make sense, though.
We are the idiot clowns, man. I mean, how could you ever hate Terry Stotts? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna be buying into it. I don't even like to talk about. I wasn't even planning on talking about what Dame said, because it's a big old can of worms. It's like, I am literally after this. It's like, cool. I'm gonna watch him in the Olympics. I'm gonna wait and see, and I'm gonna cover what we do personnel-wise during the offseason. I kind of want that to be it. Like, that's why we have the mock offseason, so we can talk about something else on streams and whatnot and kind of take a little break from the organization. All the narratives surrounding it, don't care. It's not relevant. Like, you got a lot of people spewing out a bunch of crap right now. I don't think if Dame requests a trade, then yeah, okay, we'll panic and we'll have a panic stream and, we'll cry on stream, all that, right? That's not going to happen, though. Like, I mean, knock on wood and everything. I don't think that's going to happen, though. So I'm just going to kick back and relax while everybody, and not everybody else, there's some other sensible fans. I'm just going to sit back and relax while the other part of the fan base is up in arms and freaking out about everything. Like, I'm cool with that. I'll let them freak out. I'm not going to get too worked up about it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, anything else you want to cover on this stream, Eric?
No, thank you everyone for watching, and talked finals, and then we got into mock off season, and thanks for everyone who stuck around for everything.
Yep. Make sure to join our Discord if you want to stay up to date with any of our mock offseason free agent signings. We do have a thread in there that anybody in the Discord can see, and we will release contract, details. What team signs the free agent, as well as for how much money, how many years, yada yada yada. So I will plug the link to the Discord in the live chat. There you guys go if you want to join it. Other than that, make sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm at TorJonesYT, Eric's at HoopsShock. The channel is at Blazers Uprise YT. Make sure to subscribe to the main channel if you haven't already. We are trying to get to 5,000 subs. We're getting closer by the day. Gonna upload a mailbag this weekend and maybe a surprise. We'll see. Push the mailbag back a little bit because running the mock off season is a lot of work, especially with getting free agency set up and whatnot. Yeah. So with that, that's a wrap for the stream. We hope you have. Go ahead. What else?
Breaking news right before we go off air. Someone has been offered a two-way that I think might interest you.
Who's that?
You.
I've been offered a two-way?
Yes, your impressive 2.2 points in college that was more than LeBron has impressed a fellow GM.
Who? Who? I need names. I need a name right now. Who?
Someone's saying LMAO in chat right now.
Of course it's him. Of course. That's who I was gonna... You should have made me guess, because I would have guessed him. Of course it's him. He's also the guy who's offered me like second round picks for Dame all mock off season, thinking the answer's gonna change and I'm gonna somehow say yes. Anyway, my mod's really testing my patience today.
So you're declining?
Bruh.
Wait, can you be the GM of the Blazers? If you were hired as the GM of the Blazers and another team offered you a two-way, would you leave the Blazers GM position to accept that two-way contract?
Nope. Instead, I'd put myself on the Blazers Summer League team saying, well, they offered me a two-way contract, and I said no, so obviously I'm good enough to play in the Summer League, and I go play Summer League, and then I'd call that, Yeah. No, honestly, at this point, I'd rather be a GM. Yeah. Being a GM would be fun, and would probably make more than being on a two-way contract. So
yeah.
Anyway, Jackson and Reese are the only mods that haven't driven me crazy today. Trevin. Anyway, there's that for Trevin.
Oh.
Anyway, anything else?
No, that was just some breaking news.
Oh my goodness! He had to throw in the dig in there, man. Screw Zach, man. Anyway, we will catch you on Monday. We will have more free agent signings that we might announce on stream.
Get in your emails.
Yeah, we'll talk more about. We'll talk about Game 3 as well. Monday's stream should be a lot like this one. So hopefully we can see you then. Hopefully you enjoy your weekend, and until next time, as always,